Hey, welcome back to another godly adventure together. Look, you're probably sick of me saying this. I'm really sorry for the pause, all right? It's just, again, I do this in my spare time around all of my adult responsibilities and other things I do. And I broke my phone, so I'm actually recording this on a loan phone from a friend. Like, God bless them. And I just want to shout out to all the people who do me kindness, especially when Um, I'm doing it rough, which can sometimes be a lot. Um, I do want to have the Spirit of God in me to constantly pay kindness forward and do the right thing. But then sometimes I'm on rocky ground and God provides people to help me with that. And so, yeah, again, I just want to be grateful for that. Praise God for them. But yeah, I've been loaned this new phone. I've officially bought a new phone today that's going to be, mailed to me. I bought it on eBay, so I'll be able to do these on a brand new phone of my own. And yeah, I just want to apologize. I had a car breakdown. I've had to just move through emotional stuff. I had to replace the old car, sort out insurance, sort out a loan, find out a way to sell the old car. A lot of which has sort of come together nicely today, even though I've been dealing with it for um, a bunch of stuff back to back for more than a month. So yeah, it became a bit difficult to do this particular podcast episode, but thank you for tuning in. It's great to have you back. I've been really, really keen to do it, especially since I was able to get Riverside downloaded onto this loan phone so that I could, have this um, script recorded and uploaded to you. Because I did this comedy routine, right, on the 1st of February, and the podcast is going to be about that. And so as soon as it happened, I'm like, okay, great. That's going to be something I can podcast about soon. Yeah, cool. I've got the script written out. I've got time. 2 weeks later, I can't use my phone anymore. And then a month after that, so, we're talking 6 to 7 weeks in total. Here we are. So I don't know. Guess the lesson is, don't procrastinate. Anything, because you just don't know when you might have that door close in your face. So here we are again, and yeah, keep listening to the podcast. Keep looking at my Facebook page I've made. Haven't got a whole lot of action on the Facebook page, but I have people tell me they like to have my podcast playing in the background when they're like doing like chores and stuff, which is nice because apparently I have a soothing voice, which is good because sometimes I can be a bit intense in real life. So it's good to know that my podcast persona is very relaxing. So I hope that's how you find it. So all right, so I don't know if you've heard of Raw Comedy. So it's this thing that the Melbourne Comedy Festival body does. I'm not actually sure what they're called. The organizers of that, they just have this section that's for amateur wannabe stand-up comedians, a way for them to make a bit of a name for themselves. And I've been in that 2 other years long ago. There's a bit of a story behind my, totally awesome stand-up career, right? So you can only enter it 3 times, and there's a bunch of rules. You only enter it 3 times. You kind of earned a certain amount of money performing stand-up comedy because it's like this is actually for newcomers. It's to give them something to do other than only doing open mic stuff. And so, yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I've entered it 3 times now, so I guess I'm barred, or at the very least, I can't ever progress, even if they do let me perform in the first round. But whatever, maybe I'll do that for a bit of practice. Because the thing with the comedy is that it, like many things, it's not something that you're either perfect at the first time or you just go home and quit. It's practice, practice, practice. As a barista, making coffee after coffee after coffee. It's definitely one of those things. It's like, keep trying, you will get better, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. Drawing's a bit like that. Got to, do some drawing today just for a bit of fun. That was really nice. I love drawing. It really makes me feel so good. But as for comedy, I was doing that back probably from about 2013 or 14. I got a bit of taste from like, maybe I'll pursue this a bit, see if I can't maybe do this as a bit of a potential career and become a celebrity, maybe. What happened was I had a bit of a bad show in 2016. This is in Hawthorne or something, like a suburb near Hawthorne. And back then I didn't really have a thick skin, I guess. So part of my life is about learning perseverance, and back then I would get really, really disheartened if I had a bad show. If I had a good show, it was on a cloud and couldn't wait till my next one. If I had a bad show, it took me like a month to recover the confidence to do it again. And I suppose in that time I had to learn confidence or self-security, and I also had to learn perseverance. That's something that always bugged me, was that when I was younger, especially, like if things didn't go my way fast enough, or I hit a setback, I could just like quit. So yeah, that's a bit of a thing for me, like with the Taekwondo when I was a kid, or when I, like I said, stand-up comedy. It's like I don't want everything to just be like, oh, I'm just gonna quit because it's hard, or I had a bad day. I want to have that resilience. I'm definitely doing better with it now, because you sort of can't move forward if you don't have resilience. And life doesn't go, oh, okay, sorry, we'll just pause now, or we'll put you on, the easy mode now. Life doesn't care. So I suppose you just pull up your stockings and go, all right, God, let's persevere. You do promise to give me strength and stuff, so let's help me be mature and just keep sticking at things. So yeah, I decided to get back into it after a while. Obviously, in between 2016 and 2025, which is a huge gap. Saying it out loud, I'm like, oh my God, that's like 9 years. Anyway, so that's a huge gap, and a lot happened. We had the thing where we couldn't leave our houses because of the unspecified reason of the unspecified origin, gone through all these different jobs, gone through all these different life seasons, different houses, different living situations. And so, yeah, life's really changed, and I've grown up a lot of character, I'd like to say, since then. And I thought, well, look, I feel like having a life where I'm sort of got good structure and stuff, good foundation is good, but then you have to be like, all right, well, I have passions, and whether or not that's going to make me a millionaire or I'm just going to do it for fun, you do need to have things in life that you're passionate about. The first time I saw the movie Soul, it kind of talked about that, except they called it spark, not passion. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Typical non-Christian way of explaining, the reason for living. And the point was, well, that's not supposed to explain why you're alive. It's to help you see the joy and the passion of being alive. And so that's occurred to me now. There is sort of, you do the things that, are purposeful, that are responsible, and then you're also allowed to have a life outside of that and have passions. And yeah, I can draw for fun because I feel like it. I don't need to get paid to do that. I can do it because I want to. Or I do comedy because I want to be funny, and I don't need to be paid for that. I can just do it because I want to. So yeah, it was nice. So I don't know if that's something that you feel that you struggle with at the moment. You sort of aren't letting yourself breathe enough. I don't know. See what you can do about changing your mindset, or even your situation. Sometimes this situation can be a bit suffocating and restricting, and see if you can't make time to do things that are nice rather than just wake up, daily grind, sleep, repeat. That's a pretty dull existence, especially if you're just spinning in the wheel. Like you're literally just sunrise to sunset doing the same thing. You want to have progression. So that's the thing. Do the daily grind, but progress, but also have passions, and then you feel like you're spinning a lot of plates. That can be a bit of a challenge, but it's possible for some people, and God makes it possible. All things are possible in Christ. God makes it bearable. We can suffer in this age, but we look to God and be sober-minded, and we can have a better outlook. We have a better destiny, so we can be positive about that. And that's all well and good. I've just rambled about myself and my thoughts, and I just haven't talked about the comedy routine yet. But I suppose if you weren't interested in guys just randomly talking about random stuff, you wouldn't listen to podcasts. So, and I guess that's on you. Like, you knew what you were signing up for. You've probably listened to my stuff before. You knew it was going to happen. Anyway, let's talk about this routine. So, I've gone to Raw Comedy. I've said that. And I did this routine about grace because the idea is, as a Christian, this is probably the main point I want to get to. So I'm just going to start with this. As a Christian, we are, different from the world. We stand out. We shine a light. And sometimes that can be just as subtle as, oh no, I don't drink. Right? But in the comedy world, it can be quite secular and be really, really crass. So, people who get put off by abundance amount of sexual jokes and swear words and stuff, and they're there. And a lot of comedians will, especially if they're newcomers, will resort to cheap laughs with these really just low-hanging fruits, right? And so as a Christian, you can go into that space and do a clean comedy routine and make a difference. That's a way for you to stand out by being the one guy in the room that's going to be different. And you get, some people who are proud of who they are. They say, oh, I'm proudly gay, oh, I'm proudly trans. And we had some of those in the Raw Comedy act. And then you can get a guy who goes, and I'm proudly Christian. And then you can, announce who you are and obviously promote who you are. Not even promote, like just live that and show that, yes, that is a label that means something to me. And that, again, that's a way for you to stand out and make an impact. Because what I was doing is I wanted to go into a room that had a lot of secular people who didn't know the Lord and make a routine and present a routine that showed that there is a different and a better way to do things. And it works. I can still rival your routines. I can still get laughs, but it's done differently. And what that does is go, oh, maybe being good and being Christian, it's not yucky, it's not boring, it's not scary or stupid. Maybe, something more to it than I thought. So I've been in comedy routines before, and I had a friend who he would set up these comedy acts, right? And he let me be one of the performers in it. But he's like, oh, well, I've met you and your family, and you guys are like these really clean-cut Christians, and I don't think you're going to really be able to survive in the sort of crowd that are coming to my stuff. And then I came, and I killed it. And he's like, oh, gee, I didn't expect a clean Christian routine to actually work in this environment, but it did. And that's the wonder of both being a Christian and doing clean comedy, which I can sort of delve into both, is that with comedy, it can be smart. As long as it's smart and it's clever and it hits the right notes, it doesn't have to deal with the crass, low-hanging fruit. It can be clean but still high quality. And as far as being a Christian goes, yeah, it's just about being out there and as the Bible constantly says, just live it. Just live that out in your life. And that is promoting Christ. That is being an influential person. And I've did the routine on saying grace not because it's like, oh, well, I'm a Christian trying to influence people for Christ, so it must be about Christian stuff. I have a lot of material about that, but it doesn't have to be. The idea was I have a lot of funny stories about saying grace, and that's just what I want to do the routine about. And I'm sure that you guys probably have funny stories about saying grace as well, because yeah, I did have so much material. I actually had to cut it out for time. That's how much I had to work with. And I'm not going to say it did that. I didn't get into the top 5, because the top 5 that the judges pick out, they get to go into the next round. I was in the top 5. Oh well, too bad, so sad. That's the 3rd time in a row where I didn't get to go to the next round. Whatever. But look, I could have gone a bit better. These are things you do need to practice. It was actually the first time performing in front of a live audience. I did go this other place. I was very disappointed that the crowd, this is a bar, right? And you've got half the people listening to these performers, and then you've got the second half of the people who are just there to catch up with their mates over beer, and they talk over the entire act. And I was not happy, and I left before it was my turn. I'm like, I'm actually so insulted by that disgraceful behavior. I'm not hanging around here. I'm not performing in here. That is really poor form. And the venue didn't seem to care. Like you create this space for performers to perform, and then you just let your patrons talk over the entire act. So wasn't happy with that place. So that ended up me having to perform in front of these people for the first time. And I was able to fine tune, my routine from there. So there's no point taking it to heart and going, oh, no, it wasn't as funny as I thought it was going to be. Because they did laugh, but there were bits I could fine tune. And I've already figured out ways I can fine tune it. Might swap this story for that story and see how that goes. I reckon if that was maybe to a group of youth kids and I was like some sort of trendy youth pastor, that probably would have killed. But to a group of non-Christians, maybe not so much. I wanted it to be something that they could understand, but the thing is also they have to sort of relate to or be able to access the thing you're talking about. And if like 99% of the audience has never said grace before, maybe it's not as funny as it could be. So that was a bit of an experiment and a bit of a risk. Didn't quite turn out 100% how I wanted. Whatever, that's okay. I got to practice my material. I got to have a new experience. Or have an experience I hadn't really had for 9 years. And I got to, most importantly, shine a light for Christ. And so that was fun and that was important. And yeah, I guess I left feeling pretty good. And I thought the important part was to, obviously, because there's, like I said, secular people and gay and trans people there. I thought, okay, so this is a good opportunity to do the typical non-offensive comedy in that, hey, this talk is about grace, and grace is gratitude. Isn't gratitude amazing? Can we all get around gratitude? And everyone's like, yeah, woo, gratitude. I'm like, cool. I've united all the peoples in the room together under one flag. Good. Because I think that when you go in there and you get really sort of insanely political or negative, it can be very divisive. Like, if I was to go in there and say, so these people who belong to this political party or follow this political party, aren't they a bunch of idiots? Right? Okay, cool. You've just alienated half of your audience and you're not getting them back. So every joke that you say, at most, will only have half the room laughing. Comedy isn't supposed to be an avenue for you to just trash people. Like, yeah, I might poke fun at some of the funny ways that people I know have said grace, but the idea isn't to disrespect them or trash them. It's just, what Aussies do. We just sort of poke fun at each other and we poke fun at ourselves. It's not supposed to be disrespectful. And I know sometimes people don't quite understand the boundary. It can be a bit of a fine line. But yeah, it's very important not to be negative or divisive. I just don't think there's really a place for that. Even in outside of comedy, like, why? If you can avoid it, why do that? So yeah, that was really good. I mean, again, I do have material that isn't like strictly Christian based, but can still have the air of, being relatable, positive, clever, non-divisive. And yeah, I also have, feedback to work with from the routine I did. Managed to leave the club without getting beaten up or have a beer poured on me, so that's positive, I guess. Not that that's happened before, and God willing it won't, but, Christians do be persecuted. I mean, if I get a beer poured on my head for being a Jesus freak, I suppose that's something I can actually brag about if I want to. I mean, not in certain circles of the world. They'd be like, is that all? But I reckon in Australia, if I said, hey, I did a Christian comedy act and someone poured a beer on me for that, all the other Victorians who go to their safe Victorian churches would be like, oh, you poor martyr. So I'd be like, yeah, ladies, that's me, Chaz Dexter, the martyr. That's who I am. That's what I'm about. So, yeah, I guess, how can we look at this from a biblical perspective? It's late, I'm tired. How can we look at this from, looking into the Bible and seeing what the instruction manual says about this? Well, obviously, you probably listen to it like, yeah, that seems kind of biblical. What's important to just get back to just sort of just reiterate my point again? It's about, as Joke would say, sending a message. It's about creating an image, right? So I get up there and I conduct myself the way Peter says in First Peter. The whole thing is about really godly living. It's a really powerful book, and I do suggest that you read it for really good teaching, good encouragement under suffering, and just to know how to really center your life in God. Because if you center your life in God, and that's where your perspective is, you'll go far, and it'll help you persevere. It'll help you see things better. You'll have, you don't want to live a life where you feel directionless and weighed down. You want to have a life where you focus on God and you feel empowered and at peace. What he says is, keep your conduct among the Gentiles honorable, so that when they speak against you as evildoers, they may see your good deeds and glorify God on the day of visitation. So again, aside from having one person come up to me and go, oh yeah, you got a few good laughs too, then I don't really have feedback on what I did, but maybe some people had a listen, and it had the impact. Oh, okay, maybe, saying grace is good. Maybe Christians can be funny. Maybe Christians can be non-judgmental. He got up there and he just was himself and he didn't bash any of us. That's nice. Maybe they thought he's literally the funniest man I've ever heard. I'm not actually going to cross my fingers for that one. They probably didn't, but it would be nice if they thought, yeah, it was all right. I liked him. I can live with that. As long as they didn't think that I am the worst person they've ever heard and my hair looks awful, because that's unforgivable. But we go to Matthew 5, and what I like to remember is being light and being salt, because Jesus refers to us as light and salt in this passage, or tells us to be like that. So light, obviously, is something that illuminates, where everyone can see, people can see. Darkness would be where people can hide their sin or feel lost. Light takes that away, creates accountability, helps you to be able to bring things into light and face them and not walk in ignorance or be lost. And that's great. That's very powerful. And that's something we're agents of. And salt is for purifying. It doesn't purify something that's already spoiled, but it can protect something from being spoiled. So it has a purifying element or a purity element to it. And hey, that's what we do. We shine light, right? We stay pure and we help to purify or add purity to things. You're the salt of the earth, but if salt has lost its taste, how shall saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet. And you are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. So trust me, when you're on a comedy stage and you have all these spotlights shining on you, sometimes in your face, and you actually can't see anything in front of you because there's so much light blinding you. Yeah, trust me, you're not hidden. Everyone, like this village on the hill, everyone can see that. And that's good. Again, it's about bringing a new light. It's about bringing that purity, show people a different way, a better way, at a time and a place that they didn't expect to see it. Because God can do anything, and He can use you at any point, at any place, in any way. So be open to that. Don't be afraid to be really bold Jesus freaks, because you have a very encouraging and empowering task on you, responsibility that's put on you. The light and just salt. And you might go, oh, Charles, that sounds awful. I don't want to go out and perform in front of people. I'm terrified of being on stage. And I say to that, well, that's fair enough. I mean, yeah, we can do all things through Christ who gives us strength, but also you don't have to. Maybe God will never make you do that, and that's cool. Good for you. But maybe you can think about other areas, like, where can I be a light? I've heard a chaplain at a church I went to. He used to also be a chaplain in football clubs. And basically the football club sort of turned into a bit of a drinking club because people just get together and drink all the time. And he sort of had to confront them and be like, well, if that's all you do, then you're really a drinking club. But what you need to do is, he sort of would have had a word to them, really made them think about the kind of culture they had. And your way of shining a light, if you are in a sports club, you might be in a drinking culture or a culture that doesn't honor sportsmanship. But the fact that you do that can shine the light on others, and they might rear up and get defensive, and that's on them. That's not on you. That's on them. But you also might see that because you've raised the bar, you've inevitably made them look bad in comparison, and that might convict them to change. Or they might go, well, you're different from all the other people I know. What's different about you? And some people do that. And, I'm not going to say, hey, all the world will be saved through you just evangelizing this way. Don't bother preaching, just be good all the time. There obviously will be different ways to reach people, and you might have to really get out of your comfort zone to do it. But God even saves people through dreams. He, in places of the world where there just really isn't much of a church influence because they're not allowed to be there, he'll just witness to people in a dream, and that person will wake up and believe in Jesus. And that's just sometimes the extreme that God has to go to. But at the very least, you can start by just doing the right thing, and that will inevitably make a difference because they are watching and they are listening, and you might go, oh, well, they won't notice if I do the right thing. Well, they must be watching you because they will absolutely notice if you do the wrong thing. If they ever see you do the wrong thing, they'll be like, oh, typical, hypocritical Christian uses a swear word. Oh, they judge people for not being like them. And it's like, I think if they're watching you for all the bad stuff that you're doing, they're probably going to notice the good stuff. You might get the hypocritical Pharisees who can just never be pleased, and again, that is on them, but you can pray for them, and God can melt those icy hearts and those, block-headed minds. But just see what you can do about influencing your community. And I've also been challenged a bit recently, sort of doing jobs that don't seem that incredible, jobs that are, considering someone of my age and experience, are kind of like, well, you kind of look like a bit of a loser for doing this job. And it's like, well, in a way, yeah, okay, that's one way to look at it. If you're very career-minded, then yes, I'm not massively career-minded, so that isn't a huge deal to me, but it does pop in my head every now and then because the devil likes to see where he can attack areas of my life and make me feel insecure about them, because then I will be upset and I will not look at things God's way, and I will get distracted by trying to fix a problem that maybe doesn't need to be fixed, or fix it the wrong way or for the wrong reasons. So, make sure you're wearing your armor. I do have an entire podcast about that, so please listen to that. That's very important. But even in this job, it's like, well, you can be God's guy, Every time I show up, I can be like, all right, Lord, use me. I'm going to be your guy. I'm going to just, how I conduct myself. I'm not going to, every time I speak to a patron or a coworker, I'm not going to be like, you need Jesus. How can I pray for you right now? That might not go down so well. I mean, maybe I can try it tomorrow and see how it works. And if it works, I might just do it every time. Who knows? But I can approach it with a good attitude. I can be interested in people's lives. I can give them a pleasant experience. I can be friendly and warm and stuff. And those are things I actually didn't used to be. I didn't used to be like that. And I think the Holy Spirit sort of helped make me feel more relaxed and feel happier and less insecure and less edgy, like some teenage anime watching edgelord, which I admittedly did used to be. I can shine a light that way by just being the guy that actually comes in with a good attitude, has a good attitude towards the customers. I'm not rude to them. I can have a good attitude towards the other co-workers and be respectful towards them. I can have a good attitude to work and not slack off, not gossip. I hate gossip cultures. I am working in places where people just talk trash about everyone else. It's not good. So yeah, you can just be God's child wherever you are. And I just hope that, you can be mindful about how you can do it in, where you're at. And take that as an encouragement. Like that can be a new thing that you do. That gives, greater and higher purpose and a more positive attitude to get you excited about doing whatever you're going to do there. So I guess that's it. I don't really have anything else. I'd literally just be making stuff up as I went if I kept going on. So, yeah, God is good. Life has been stressful, but God's helped me get through it. God has helped me be able to get back to some passions and enjoy them, and be able to honor Him at the same time. So, definitely not perfect yet, but life is going pretty well. So praise God for that. I hope you guys are doing well. I do hope we can get onto more regular content. I was on a really good thing, and then I broke my phone, which was my fault. I got really upset over something I probably didn't need to, and I decided that I would throw my phone as hard as I could onto the road, and half expected my phone case to tank the damage, but apparently it only works if you accidentally drop the phone and not if you throw it full force onto something. So I showed this to a phone guy, and he's like, I said, just out of curiosity, how much would it take to fix this? And he said, well, considering the screen, the back glass, the front and back cameras, and assuming the motherboard, which you can't fix or replace, assuming the motherboard isn't damaged, it's probably going to cost you an entire phone. And I'm like, okay then. That's what I thought you would say. Have a nice day, sir. So, yeah. Make sure you wear your armor of God and guard your heart and mind, because I got really upset that my finances weren't doing as well as I wanted them to. And I got really hard on myself for not being more career and money minded when I was younger. That being said, I didn't have exceptionally great examples of that shown to me, and I just kind of was able to get by most of my life without doing it. So, yeah. And look, again, I mean, not everyone knows it. Not everyone is wired that way. Not everyone is Elon Musk and Donald Trump and whatever. Not everyone is business minded, and I accept that. I'd like to be more so. I'm going to try to be, but I can't change what happened in the past. And so I can't let the devil just get in there and just really make me feel terrible about stuff that I can't change. Because when you think about it, it's like, well, what were you doing instead? Probably more urgent matters and the things of God and other things that mattered to you and that you were better at and that you could do. And you slowly built yourself up over time to be better with finances, building up job experience, building up, going through your study and building up skills and resources and connections. And you just did that at your own pace while you were doing other things. And so when you look at the big picture like that, it's easy to sort of calm down. But when you get hyper focused on something that, especially if you let yourself feel insecure about, well, you can make the amazing financial decision of breaking a $700 phone. So I don't really know how that was meant to fix my financial situation and make up for my bad choices, allegedly. But yeah, 0 out of 10, wouldn't recommend. Pray and read the Bible instead is what you should do if you feel sad about your finances. And to those of you who find yourself financially struggling, have you tried earning more money? That's a piss take. I'm just messing with you. If I hate it when people give advice like that. It's so stupid. It's like, earn more money? Why didn't I think of that? That would solve the problem of me not having enough money. Oh my gosh, you're a genius. What do you what do you expect the result of that conversation to be? Like, dude, what the hell? People are funny, aren't they? But yeah. Oh well, we're asked to turn the other cheek. Better just to not judge people according to where you're at, just give them the benefit of the doubt. Alright, thank you very much for tuning into this very belated podcast. And I'm sorry I couldn't actually record now that I think about it, I actually did want to record the comedy routine at Raw Comedy, and you know what they said? Oh, well, if you perform it in our contest, that's our property and you can never use that. You can't upload it to promote yourself. You can keep it as like, for feedback purposes, but you can't use that content for anything. And so I'm like, cool. All right. Not exactly the answer I wanted to hear, but I kind of half expect them to say that. So whatever. I'm sorry, guys, that you can't see it. But when I do more comedy acts, I'm happy to record them. Hopefully you guys get my style of humor, and if I do Christian routines, you can laugh at them. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. And I'm sorry you guys don't get to see the routine now, but that's all right because the next time I do it, it will actually be better and funnier, and you guys deserve for it to actually be funny. So that's good. All right. Ciao for now. I'm going to try to get some sleep. I'm going to try to do some dishes, not in that order, obviously. I'm going to try to get more podcasts out on my new phone. Probably next time I record this, it'll be on my new phone. And yeah, I've already got some great ideas. We'll continue with character focus. We'll continue to do whatever else I've been doing. And yeah, don't forget to keep listening, keep sharing this, with your friends on YouTube or Spotify or Facebook or like however you're following me at all. Just keep promoting it because I do want this to be something that continues to touch people's lives and affect them. I can't go around and do comedy routines for all these people, so you're going to have to like take some of the load off my shoulders and do that for me. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Have yourselves a good night, and I suppose next time I'm talking to you, it'll be very close to Easter time. Speaking of which, did you know that there's going to be 2 Jesus movies coming out just before Easter? One is The Chosen, about the Last Supper, which I admittedly, despite the fact that I've actually watched The Chosen, I'm like, that actually might be something nice to do for fun. Maybe I can kind of celebrate Easter that way. Maybe take some friends. Maybe go by myself if trying to organize with friends is too painful, because sometimes it can be painful trying to make plans with people. And then there's the other one. I think it's King of Kings. It's like an animated movie. The trailer looked awful, but I think if you are a child or you have children, maybe take them to see that one instead. As an adult, I'm happy to go see the live action one instead. But again, just see either, see both. It's up to you. Have a happy Easter, and yeah, well, I'll see you then.